I'm kind of famous for saying the expression, get shit done, girls, get given shit to do. And in reality, you don't just want to be a robot that somebody gives something to do. You actually want to be the strategic thinker. That's when work starts to be fun. That's when work starts to be interesting, is when you are both excited and curious about what it is you are doing and valued for what you are bringing to the table. I believe that when those two things are in balance, work starts to become amazing, and your organization and your team and you start to win. Because if you don't have the curiosity and excitement, well, then you're probably bored. And if you don't have the, this is why I am valued, well, then you don't have that self-belief and confidence that I'm talking about. And then you start to get scared. And when you start to get scared, you can't make room for innovation. You can't make room for change. You can't make room for pivoting. You can't make room for all of the cool stuff that actually needs to happen in the working world. And in today's working world, the rule book of how things should be done and how you should navigate the future and customer expectations and fill in whatever area of expertise you are in, that rule book has not only been destroyed, but it has been set on fire, tossed out the window, and probably had some gross stuff dumped on it, because you've all had to reimagine. And what people are looking for in the new working world from their teams are results rather than the completion. And the results are how you think, how you strategize, how you engage, how you collaborate, all of those sorts of things. And you need to come to that work with both confidence and curiosity so that you can ultimately get to the result. The result is just the finish line. The result is marrying the prince if you are Cinderella or princess or whoever it is you want to marry at the end of the day. If that is even your goal, I would actually argue that Cinderella's goal was not to marry the prince. Cinderella's goal was to get to the ball. The prince, the shoe, everything else, ultimately her, and they all lived happily ever after, was a result of her action and the results that she took forward. And she did that with both confidence. Just saying, if I was Cinderella and my fairy godmother showed up and said, I'm going to make a pumpkin into a carriage, I'd be like, hold up. I want to see that whole magic thing again, because you're just asking me to get inside a vegetable. Maybe no, because I'd be a little bit nervous about that. I don't know about the rest of you. But she came in with confidence and did those sorts of things. But she also had the belief of the fairy godmother, because the fairy godmother's job was twofold. One, with Cinderella, it was to help her when she got to the front gate, for all of the decision makers along her way to go, yes, you should be here and we want you to be here. And by giving her the fabulous outfit and reminding her that she's awesome, giving her the confidence to not only enter the ballroom, but actually to come down the stairs in a big way and not just slide in a side door. Are you seen and are you making it easy for people to choose the future you is just as important externally as it is for you internally. And this is why I think confidence is the first place I start with everybody around what is your ambition? What do you want for the future you? How do you build confidence around that? Because that is the anchor that we all start with. Okay. I am Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother. Welcome to everybody. I see we have a ton of new faces today. It's also awesome to see some old faces and then some old faces I haven't seen in a really long time. You know who you are when I'm calling you out. So for those of you that are new to the Live with Joanna experience, we do love to see your awesome faces. as we go through, but do keep your phones muted until we get there. Okay, so just a reminder, today's show is about the lovely conversation about confidence, because here's what I believe. Change is hard. Change is super, super hard. And boy, we are going through a lot of it. But going through change when that little asshole voice in your head is going through Crazyville doesn't help you as you move forward. Because the person who needs to understand the future you and why they are awesome to begin with is you, so that you can start teaching other people why this person is awesome too, because it's the future you that everybody is wanting to know about. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So how are we going to cover this? Just some expectations for the show, because for those of you who are new, you're like, well, I have no idea what's going to happen. For those of you who have been to shows before, we're doing a bit of a format change in the new year, as we promised at the end of the last year. So hang on to your magic. We're about to shift things around. So one, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about confidence and the different buckets of confidence and how I think you need to fill them up. We're also going to talk about why, as I said, I think you need it more than ever. This needs to become your superpower in 2021, because we've got some unforeseen mountains we didn't think were going to happen. We've already had some already this year. So then once you start thinking about the buckets, how do you start building confidence? How do you start practicing? What are some tools and ideas around that? Why is this important? Two big things: path to promotion, whether you're looking for a job or you have a job, critically important for those of you who have heard about executive presence. This one comes in a big way. And then we're also going to be doing a leadership lesson around that as well. So for those of you that are in leadership roles, how do you take this confidence thinking out to your team as well? As always, we are also going to have our magic time. For those of you that haven't been before, one of the things that we do at every single show is we give away a free one-on-one fairy godmother moment with me. It's a 30-minute session, private. We chat about you and everything you need and how we can help you and give you some custom advice. Kelly, who is, well, no, she's over there on my screen, over in the sparkles, because we all have costumes now. We'll be pulling from the people who are still on the show and in attendance. Yes, you have to be in attendance to win from that. And we'll be announcing, we decided our little spinny wheel was just not working anymore. We didn't want to waste people's time. So we'll be doing the magic wheel. And then right after the magic wheel, we're going to be inviting you to participate, because here's the thing. Serendipity and magic doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. And so participation is the word for 2021 and what we want you to be able to do. Then we are going to hit pause on the record for this show, because if those of you that don't know, we actually take this entire show, put some jazzy stuff around it and pop it up on our YouTube channel. So if you ever are missing this, you can watch it there. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button, because we have a new show every week on different topics. Tune in, join us live, all of those good sorts of things. But once we hit pause, we will be opening up for your Cinderella moments. Because yes, you are here in this world of me, the fairy godmother, which makes you either Cinderella or Cinderfella in my story. And for those of you that are new to this construct, boy, do we have some hilarious stuff to show you. But this is where you can actually ask questions, get some focused advice about building confidence, and have engagement through the back half of the hour. So whether you want to stay for it all or just the content is entirely up to you. So why don't I go ahead and get started with everything? Oh, last but not least, if you have questions, or if I'm referencing any documents or links or any of that good sort of stuff, our friend Kelly over here is going to be dropping them in chat. You can absolutely chat with her and get that, because I'm going to be focused on running all of the technical today and making sure you guys have a great visual experience. Okay, so why am I obsessed about confidence? Let's just start there with this whole idea about that voice in your head. Let me just start with a little tiny bit of science first. Did you know That voice in your head, mostly powered by your amygdala, is actually wired to be 70% negative. Which, when I learned this from one of my super smart sciencey friends, I was like, hold up. So you mean to say that every morning when it comes to, I got this, I can do this, all of this good sort of stuff, that I'm actually starting at a deficit? And they looked at me and nodded and said, yeah, super sorry about this bad news. Now, I am, as you will know, a bit of what I call an agentic optimist, which is somebody who believes in the positive future, but understands I am the person who can change it, as opposed to waiting for the magic and the wishes and all of the other things to happen. Said, well, that's a load of hooey. So how do I need to talk to myself in a different way? And this is really where I started getting really curious about confidence and how you think about it. And as I think about confidence, I really put it into 3 different buckets. Yes, the big one, self-confidence. Do you believe in you? Are you talking to yourself in a positive and confident way? Do you think you can do it? And we've all experienced that shift from I don't think I can do it to I can do it in our lives. Well, let me ask, how many of you have learned how to ride a bike at some point in your life? Most of you. If you haven't, zero judgment. I actually find bike riding slightly scary now as an old person because I always worry about falling off. But you think about that moment that you didn't know how to ride a bike through to the moment when you've suddenly found that momentum and balance and freedom of I learned how to ride a bike. We've all gone through that transition and we all know that kind of shift in thinking. Here's what's really interesting about that shift in thinking is once you know how to ride a bike, once you've gotten balance, momentum, all of those good sorts of things, you can't actually forget it, right? There's a reason why the ride a bike analogy works. We just forget that that minute before we found that is kind of terrifying and you're wobbly and you're not very good at it and all of those sorts of things. So as you're thinking about self-confidence, the question I always challenge people to ask is, are you pre or post learning how to ride a bike on this thing? Because the reality is the more you practice a thing and the more you push yourself to the edge, you will flip over into a place where you're like, I got this. And I have no doubt that every single one of you has a number of things that you're like, I got this. It's only when we're in the wobbly bike mode that we get really worried. Then I also think about confidence within the bucket of what I call certified confidence. I think this is also really powerful. And why, when I think about how do you think about the future you and how do you talk about yourself, we do all get college degrees, certifications. You've gone to maybe a coding boot camp. You've gotten certified as agile. Maybe you've done Scrum training or product training or whatever the certification is that is out there that you can get. I think there's some really interesting things happening in the world of education and self-learning. And the power of getting certified in different places actually has validation. There's a big difference, as an example, between getting certified from Harvard versus getting certified from a community college, but you're still getting a certification. So as you're looking at all of the buckets of confidence, it's thinking about like, is there something I can do that actually gives me third-party certification around my confidence? Because what happens is it actually starts to help you remember that you are actually awesome and that you have this. It also becomes the vehicle that helps you through that wobbly bike moment. So big fan of those sorts of things. And then the last bucket of confidence that I always think about is what I call the belief confidence. It's the world where your boss, a sponsor, a mentor, a friend, a family member, a potentialist actually goes, "Ooh, yay, I see you and I see my belief in the future you is being translated." We see this all day, every day in today's marketplace. It is known as social media because we live in a world where there's a lot of thumbs up, hopefully not a lot of thumbs down, and immediate feedback in this. So in the belief category, I challenge you to really consider what are your KPIs around confidence because belief that is just a number can feel a little bit vacuous, which is why it never, I think, quite fills up the self-confidence bucket. It has to keep refilling itself. So while I think sharing what you're thinking about or what you're talking about on whatever social media platforms are working for you, or sharing your ideas, and while I absolutely think that belief of a third party in you is incredibly helpful for when it comes to building confidence, do remember that that's a bucket that empties every day, as opposed to the certified and self-confidence area, which those ones I think have a lot more substance and can actually lead you on. Example, and yes, I'm going to talk about riding bikes. Your mom or your dad, or whoever it was who taught you how to ride a bike, was that belief confidence category that I'm talking about. Once you were done learning how to ride, their goalposts moved to a whole different area. However, you knew how to ride a bike, and maybe you even got certified in the process. Now I think about it, I think I actually did get, I think I got a little certificate many, many years ago for how to ride on roads appropriately. So there is such a thing as you go through. Why also then do I think you need to think about these three buckets of confidence more than ever? Because as we move into 2021 and beyond, I think the biggest lesson coming out of 2020, above and beyond just be a nice person, is work is not just about getting the thing done. And for those of you that haven't been to my show before, you will know that I'm kind of famous for saying the expression, get shit done, girls, get given shit to do. And in reality, you don't just want to be a robot that somebody gives something to do. You actually want to be the strategic thinker. That's when work starts to be fun. That's when work starts to be interesting, is when you are both excited and curious about what it is you're doing and valued for what you are bringing to the table. I believe that when those two things are in balance, work starts to become amazing, and your organization and your team and you start to win. Because if you don't have the curiosity and excitement, well, then you're probably bored. And if you don't have this is why I am valued, well, then you don't have that self-belief and confidence that I'm talking about. And then you start to get scared. And when you start to get scared, you can't make room for innovation. You can't make room for change. You can't make room for pivoting. You can't make room for all of the cool stuff that actually needs to happen in the working world. And in today's working world, the rule book of how things should be done and how you should navigate the future and customer expectations and fill in whatever area of expertise you are in, that rule book has not only been destroyed, but it has been set on fire, tossed out the window, and probably had some gross stuff dumped on it, because you've all had to reimagine. And what people are looking for in the new working world from their teams are results rather than the completion. And the results are how you think, how you strategize, how you engage, how you collaborate, all of those sorts of things. And you need to come to that work with both confidence and curiosity so that you can ultimately get to the result. The result is just the finish line. The result is marrying the prince if you are Cinderella or princess or whoever it is you want to marry at the end of the day. If that is even your goal, I would actually argue that Cinderella's goal was not to marry the prince. Cinderella's goal was to get to the ball. The prince, the shoe, everything else, ultimately her, and they all lived happily ever after, was a result of her action and the results that she took forward. And she did that with both confidence. Just saying, if I was Cinderella and my fairy godmother showed up and said, I'm going to make a pumpkin into a carriage, I'd be like, hold up. I want to see that whole magic thing again, because you're just asking me to get inside a vegetable. Maybe no, because I'd be a little bit nervous about that. I don't know about the rest of you. But she came in with confidence and did those sorts of things. But she also had the belief of the fairy godmother, because the fairy godmother's job was twofold. One, with Cinderella, it was to help her when she got to the front gate, for all of the decision makers along her way to go, yes, you should be here and we want you to be here. And by giving her the fabulous outfit and reminding her that she's awesome, giving her the confidence to not only enter the ballroom, but actually to come down the stairs in a big way and not just slide in a side door. Are you seen and are you making it easy for people to choose the future you is just as important externally as it is for you internally. And this is why I think confidence is the first place I start with everybody around what is your ambition? What do you want for the future you? How do you build confidence around that? Because that is the anchor that we all start with. Okay, I'm gonna turn my slides off for a minute so you can all see my face for a second. So how do you start building that? Well, I think there's a number of ways, but I think we've all already been given the roadmap for how to build any skill. And it's going to be a super boring answer, but the answer is practice. And you think about just the art of practice. If you do anything over a long enough period of time, and if you've read the 10,000 hours conversation, tipping point, any conversation around building skill around something, they will come back and say it's about continuous and focused practice. And so I have a couple of things that I always recommend that people do on a daily basis. And when I say daily, I mean the Monday through Friday, because I'm assuming this is work you rather than personal you, but if you want to do it on personal you, that's okay. So one of them is to actually talk about that conversation in your head. So every day I challenge people to say something out loud that talks about why you are uniquely awesome. For those of you that don't know, I have been running around recently to anybody who will stand still long enough. And I do say this to other people, and most people who are in my personal network now basically laugh at me because they know that what I'm actually doing. And I will say sentences like, I am a genius, fill in the blank. Recently, it's been a genius no-code expert. And while I am not a no-code expert today by any stretch of the imagination, the person I'm talking to is me. And actually saying those words out loud really makes a spectacular difference. And you can all do this on mute right now. Like, think about something that you are uniquely good at right now. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to do something a little crazy. I want you all to come off mute for a second. We're going to see what the video recording does. And I'm going to count down, and it's going to sound awful, but we're going to have you count down. And I want you all to say out loud, I am genius at, and then fill in whatever your blank is. Are you ready? All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
I am genius at setting up the team.
Hurrah! Okay, how many of you felt kind of stupid and foolish doing that? I know. Oh, because you're learning how to ride a bike, so give yourself a little bit of a break there. How many of you feel a little better right now? Yeah, most of you, a little bit. It's that little piece of self-confidence. Do it as much as you need to. If you are, so then you can actually take the power of belief. If some of you were like, oh, I don't know what to say, I sound like a tool, this is ridiculous. Go out to somebody who already knows you and loves you and say, this woman in sequins who calls herself a fairy godmother challenged me to say, I am genius at fill in the blank. What do you think my fill in the blank is? Oh, guess what? Not only will they have given you language that you can say out loud to say to yourself, but you just filled up a bit of the belief bucket. Bonus points, you just got some insight into what people are saying about you in the room you are not in. For those of you who have not heard it before, remember that every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you are not in, which means there are 3 questions. 1, do they even know you exist? 2, what are they saying about you? And that's where you will have just gotten an answer. And then 3, is that what you want to map forward to the future you? Because if they are saying things like you are awesome at getting shit done, it means they are going to give you more shit to do. Very simple. What do you want that conversation to be? So you have to start with, well, do they know who I am? And then what is it? So really early stages. So that's also how you can build up the belief bucket. The third thing, which is the certification bucket, is I talked a little bit about how I'm fascinated by education and how it is shifting, especially in this digital world. Well, if you want to build up your muscle in that bucket, then take the time to also invest there. I spend personally, actually quite a lot of time, but I spend at least 30 minutes every single day, and I combine it with my fitness routine because I'm about maximizing my time, listening to podcasts from people that I admire, who bring thinkers to the table that are talking about my area of expertise. I listen to so many things, and I actually take notes along the way because I want to capture them. But I'm always constantly investing in my own education and where it is I need to go, because the reality is that anybody who is hiring you, and when I say hiring you, I don't necessarily mean a job. The person who wants you to be the future you tomorrow, your boss today, is actually hiring you for the now you, for what the work that you can do today because it needs to be done today, the near you, so your ability to recognize patterns and build strategies around things that could happen anywhere from 3 to 6 months from now, to the future you, which is how are you an expert in your field and your vision about where the future you is going to go. I have no doubt if I talk to every single one of you, you have come to the table with some, gosh, have you seen this trend in the future that we should be paying attention to? And that, more than just the today you, is where people get excited and start to give you opportunities to start doing that excited and curious thing. So those three things. So 1, talking to yourself. 2, interviewing other people. And 3, actually doing some investment in the future you around education. I think of the 3 ways that you can build up self-confidence. I think the most powerful piece in both the belief and the certification for me personally is that it actually gives me also the language to use when I'm trying to explain it to other people. I will absolutely known that I did not come up with the phrase agentic optimist. I heard it on a podcast and I was like, oh my God, what is that? I have to know about it. And now I can walk around and call myself an agentic optimist. Just out of curiosity, who's like, I'm an agentic optimist too? Who else has fallen in love with that? Just go, it's awesome. If you are not, that's okay, because my guess is you have other words that describe why you are awesome too, which is the truth. Okay. So then where does this start to become critically important in your workplace as well? Because I talked about path to promotion, and I do want to give you a little bit of a, here's where your story guide comes into play. Because we've all been in that situation where we thought we were going to get the promotion or we didn't know how the promotion was going to happen, or we got a promotion. We were like, wait a second, I didn't see that coming. Certainly happens as well. And this is what your boss isn't saying. They're not saying, or they are saying, well, gosh, maybe you need to work on your strategic thinking or your executive presence. How many of you have gotten that, what I think is basically lame feedback? Because you're like, well, what does that mean? And then no one could really answer it. What they're talking about executive presence is 2 things. Is 1, do you have confidence in yourself? And 2, does the audience that you are talking to have confidence in you? And the only way you can find out if your audience has confidence in you is by asking them. Number 2, because this also signifies confidence, is are you not getting a promotion because you have what I call a permission problem? And a permission problem is, instead of coming to the table with vision and clarity and recommendations, you're actually waiting for somebody else to say yes to whatever it is that you need to do. Now, this isn't, I need to bring a new idea every single day, or I just need to activate ideas and their meanies because they said no. This is actually understanding the entire end-to-end process of how do you get buy-in and execute against your ideas to actually move the goalposts forward for whatever your goals are for your organization. So often I see people come to me and go, well, this is what I think we should do. This is what I want to do. Here's how we'll do it. Can I do it? And the question, as somebody who promoted a lot of people in my past, was always, gosh, I wish they had shown the confidence to come in and say, look, this is what my recommendation is, and here is why. I once went to the executive team of one of my last companies that I worked for, and I was asking for a really big ticket item for our organization for them to invest in. And instead of coming in and asking permission for the program and getting them to argue about all of the merits of the program, I came in and I talked about the problem. I talked around the vision of the solution and some of the architecture around what we would need to do to actually solve that. And then I came and I said, look, we have 3 choices based on what is happening and where we are going. Choice A will give us this result. Choice B will give us this other result. And choice C will give us a third result. My recommendation as the person who has studied all of this is choice B. But ultimately, as that's not an insignificant amount of money, you guys get to choose. So I actually gave them choices as opposed to asking their permission. And long story short, they chose choice B because it was genius. Did you see what I just did there? I really filled my little self-belief cup just a tiny bit. Last thing that confidence can really get in your way on the promotion path or the opportunity path is also hidden decision makers. And I actually had a really heartbreaking but real example of this with one of the executives that I was doing strategic work with recently. He was going for a really big promotion and a promotion into the C-suite. And when I think about executive presence, when I think about permission problems, he had 0 issues in this area. Like, we had actually worked on how was he going to present the idea. We had talked about all of the conversations that had happened in past. What were the conversations happening in the room that we were not in? What we were not aware of were hidden decision makers. And hidden decision makers are people who can greenlight or not the future you based on their needs and factors. So we had forgotten that there was somebody that if they were not on board with this future path, that it wasn't going to happen no matter how much everybody else wanted it. I was actually just on Facebook today talking to somebody, giving some advice on how to sell SaaS software to IT decision makers because they'd been only selling to market it. And I'm like, you have to remember that the way an IT decision maker in this scenario speaks, what they evaluate, how they need to understand your product is different from maybe the sales and marketing organization. And are you having a conversation in a way that they need, and have you understood their needs? And so really making sure you as an individual, if you, well, I hope you are here because you have ambition, but if you have ambitions for the future you, that you need to understand that your boss is not the only decision maker. Their boss is often a decision maker. Sometimes they even have bosses above them. Their peer sets are decision makers. Your peers are decision makers, and often even the people that report into you. So often I see people who have really gotten support and agreement for the people who report into them, but not so much on their peer set, and certainly not in managing up, which is why I'm like, really understand that every day you are messaging not only confidence in yourself, but want to recognize where you are seeing confidence being mirrored to you from others. Because it's when people believe in the future you that they give you permission to be the future you. And that's ultimately what we all want. That is and they all lived happily ever after, right? That's the thing that we're all searching for. Because I take you back to, when was the last time somebody gave you, like, somebody was like, oh my God, you are amazing. Go do your thing. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You were fantastic because you came in with confidence. You totally crushed it. You were able to make space for all of the collaborators. You didn't worry about the conversation in your head, and you certainly weren't worrying about the conversations other people were happening. And it's those combination of things that really allow you to do the work that you were brought here to do. And that's when work shifts from being kind of the robotic, oh my God, I'm just kind of checking it in, to really being fulfilling and exciting. And I know lots of you have gone through those experiences, and it's about optimizing for that. Okay, last but not least, on my conversation about confidence in the future you. Whoops, as it jumps too far. Oh, I don't have a slide for you. Never mind. I want to leave you with one quick leadership lesson. There is nothing more powerful that you as a leader can give to people, whether they report into you or not, than belief in their future. Here's I say, and I actually have a sticky note on my computer that I remind you, I'll show you. Actually keep my sticky note up here, and it says, my wish for people is often bigger than they think it could be for themselves. When I have been in my most powerful as a leader, when I have seen other people be in their most powerful as a leader, it's because they believe this about their teams. And so for those of you that are in leadership roles or looking to move into leadership roles, I want you to think about that, because leadership is not about telling other people what to do. Leadership is about believing in the potential of others. At least that's what I think. And helping them manifest that potential, because that's the flywheel that makes the magic happen. So really thinking about, you have a bucket of belief, confidence that you can give to others all the time. And it is like, it's magic. You can fill it up every single day and give it all away, and it keeps filling up. And the more you do it, the more great feedback that you get across the board. So those are all of my lessons around building confidence. I hope some of you got some ideas and some tactics. We do have something we're actually going to give you as an invitation to participate in a big way. But before we do that, Kelly, as you saw, it is magic time.
Woo, I'm excited.
Who gets to win this week? Yeah. A one-on-one with me.
So I'm excited to say I put all of the attendees in our randomizer, and the first winner of 2021 for a one-on-one session with Joanna Bloor, fairy godmother, is Lydia Perez.
Yay! Lydia, where are you? Oh, there you are. Nice to meet you. We will be reaching out to you after the show to send you instructions on how to set up your session. Let me throw out this question to you to prepare. I will want to know, what is your ball? Because if I don't know what your ball is, I can't do any of the fairy godmother magic, which is loosely translated to, what are you ambitious for? Go big here. Remember, this isn't happily ever after. This is just the ball, but let's go there. Awesome. Lydia, look forward to talking to you. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's exciting stuff. Okay. For those of you who haven't been before, we do this every single time. It's literally my favorite thing to do, because I plan on doing transformations on everybody at the end of the day. Okay. So magic time is over. Okay. So what have I been referring to? Well, a couple of things. So as we mentioned late last year, we have been getting up to all sorts of shenanigans here at the Amplify Lab. And one of the things that we kept on hearing from clients and participants was, oh my God, I need help with this, and I need examples of how to do this. And so last year, and actually we've been in development for this for a while, I have been truly obsessed around this idea of confidence and how do you move the bar around it? How do you make that whole process easy? And so a couple of years ago, we actually created what we called, very loosely, the confidence product, because I was like, surely we can move the bar. And more importantly, surely we can move the bar of the managers who are watching these people participate. And so we went out to a technology company in New York, and we had about 50 people who went through a couple of months of experience with us around how to develop and build your confidence and ultimately your executive presence. Let me tell you, the results kind of blew my mind, because we saw a 20% lift in self-reported confidence in the first 30 days, which I was like, whoa, that's actually a fairly significant number. And I'm really kind of surprised by it. And so we went back and retooled. So today we are announcing that we are launching 2 products as of right now. They are the Future You product and the Confident You product. And I'm going to talk about what they are in just a second, because I want you to hear about them. And with these products, for those people that are on the show, because we're going to give you a deadline we're actually giving you a 50% off coupon code for the product if you would like to participate, that will be good through close of business on Monday, January 11th. And Kelly's going to be dropping links to the programs and how to sign up, the document that we have created for you that explains the product so that you can go back and read about it and make a decision, and the coupon code in the chat. So go look over there. For those of you that are on YouTube, you can still participate in the program. The super bummer is your coupon code will not work because it is just for participants. So reason number bazillion and 3 to show up for the shenanigans. So what is this opportunity? Well, I physically do not have the time, super sad, to do one-on-one calls with every single person on every single call, every single day. I would be, well, it's just not possible, sadly. So we were like, well, what is the next best thing? And coming back to this idea of how do you do micro activities to start moving the bar? So we've created a 1-month experience where I will be texting you ideas, challenges, questions throughout the week. You'll actually get 1 video a week directly to you. And those texts are absolutely based on 2 things. So which of the journeys do you want to take? Do you want to do the, I want to explore the future me product, or I want to explore the how to build the confident me product? Either one will work for you. But you'll get videos and texts aligned to that and based on some answers to some questions that you'll be answering as you go through the process. But ultimately, you get texts going through every week and certainly 1 challenge a week. Can you text me back about the challenges or the questions, or in some cases, we're actually going to be asking you to text back because I want to hear what happens. So yes, absolutely. So it's like you have me in your phone for a month doing this crazy on a regular basis. So how do you sign up? The links should be in the chat box right now. There's a link for the Future You experience and the Confident You experience. You choose which one you want to do. Future 50 is the discount code. If you would like to do both, feel free. If you want to start one and then start another one in 2 weeks, well, actually, no, you won't be able to get the coupon code. But if you want to get both the coupon code on both, you can absolutely do that. Again, who's eligible? Just the people here on live on the show, as long as you register by close of business on Monday. And ultimately, based on all of our experimenting and testing and feedback from everybody so far, what should you expect at the end of the day? 1 is increased self-belief. I want you to believe in the future you more than anything else. And 2, what we call validated belief. The process of getting the people around you to actually recognize and remember the future you is critically important and part of the promotional path. And last but not least, you've been to some of my shows, you've got to see the experience. You know that while I'm all about potentialism and I'm all about amplifying people, I'm also a lot about a lot of fun. I promise you, nothing will take more than 10 to 15 minutes over the week. We're about maximizing your time. There's tons of details in the PDF that Kelly should have shared in chat. We will be putting all of this information into the email and the follow-up, so please feel free to do that. Last but not least, before we go into Q&A, just a reminder, next week's show is about telling your brilliant brain with a graphic. If you haven't checked out LinkedIn this morning, you will get to see some people who got some transformations this week and a graphic we made for somebody. A picture tells 1,000 words, really important. If you haven't already signed up, we'd love to see you there. And if you're like, I'm not sure I want to do the program, and I don't know, let me leave you with this challenge, because the magic is already in you. What if you went up and asked your boss where they would like you to be more confident? What do you think they would say? And if you don't know, go out and ask, because I think that is the key, because the future you is powered by your potential, and they're the ones who recognize and remember it. So something on that. Okay, so for those of you watching on YouTube, I hope you found today's session interesting and exciting. We will absolutely have links to the programs in the show notes as well. You can also go back and rewatch, and don't forget to like and subscribe. For those of you that are still live, we're going to say goodbye to the YouTube audience and close this out and just come back to you. Ultimately, we're here to help you figure out how to teach other people who the future you is, so that you can be you in the future. because the clearer you are about who you are, what you want, and teach other people why that's awesome, the more likely you get to be you. I know, it's a bit of a circle. I'm Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for coming.